Look at the Milwaukee M12 fuel circular saw. It's a 5 3/8 inch blade. You can see it's got a pretty thin kerf. It's about a 1/16 of an inch, I believe. I'll just go ahead and go through some of the features. It takes a 12-volt battery. I'm going to be testing it out with a 1.5 amp hour battery. You can use a 2 or a 3 or a 4 extra capacity as well. It'll probably give you a little bit more power the way you have the battery pack's designed. So I'm going to be using the about as low level as you can get for the batteries. This is the smallest one they make. It's got a trigger lock here. It's ambidextrous. You can get it from both sides. You just press it down and then you can pull the trigger, and you can let go of the trigger lock once you've got the trigger depressed. It's got a good top grip right here. Both grips are rubberized. They're really easy to hold on to. You've got the blade, or the guard advance if you're doing a plunge cut. The bevel adjustment is right here. It goes from 0 to 50 degrees. There's a stop for 0 degrees. It's a little bit out of square, I mean not significantly. I took a square and measured it, and it's about a 32nd of an inch off, so it's nothing that's going to affect framing performance or anything like that. But if you're doing detailed work, first of all, you should probably be using a table saw or a full-size circular saw with a nice finish blade. But if for some reason you're trying detailed work with this, know that you'll have to get out a square and just adjust it a little bit for 1/32 over 1.5 inches. So it's a non-issue basically. It's also got a fuel gauge right here that'll light up when you start the cut. It flashes at you when it's just about empty. I ran it dry twice and had it flash on the 4th from last cut one time and the 6th from last cut the second time. Here's all of the cuts I've made. Each of these is one battery's worth. On the back here is 52 cuts, and on the front is 66. And the reason I got extra out of the second batch that I did is I babied it a little bit and let the blade do more of the work instead of forcing the cut. So you'll get 10 or 11 more cuts out of it, or I guess I got even more than that, if you let the blade do all the work and let the saw do the work and don't force anything. We've also got the spindle lock right here. It's actually a really good design where you can grab the whole saw body and then you can pull out the onboard Allen wrench and just take the blade out like that. The Allen wrench has good retention. It snaps right in there and holds steady. It's also got the adjustable shoe, and it goes from 0 to 1/5/8 inches, so it can cut dimensional lumber. And if you see in here, there's the markings in the back. They're a little bit hard to see. This is the only thing that I don't really like about the features of the saw, is it's hard to get a good read on your cut depth here. That's my really only complaint though. Go ahead and lock that down at full depth, and let's cut some 2x4s. One thing, you really want to make sure you have your safety glasses on with this. I don't know if it's the left blade or if it's the blade design or what it is, but I had some chip out while I was doing all of these 2x4s, and I got hit right in the eye 4 times. So it's got a propensity to throw stuff back at you. I don't know if that's the lumber. I don't know what the factor was, but just keep in mind if you're in the habit of not using safety glasses, you definitely want to use them for this saw. You should be using safety glasses anyway, though. Go ahead and just clamp this down here. It's a little bit getting used to because I'm right-handed and I'm not used to a left side saw. We'll go ahead and you can see if you push down the trigger lock, you get the LED lighting up to light your cut. And then if you pull the trigger, you get the fuel gauge right here. So we'll just go ahead and make a few cuts. It's fairly clean, not much tear out at all. We'll go ahead and make a few more. I was forcing it a little bit on that last one. You might have heard it bog down. I was just pushing it a little bit hard. Alright. Now, give it some more challenges. I've got some 1/2" MDF here. Might have to hold our breath on this one because it'll make a lot of dust. Go ahead and clamp it down. Make sure we got room to cut. And here we go. And I believe had the blade bind a little bit there. Oh, it's still a fairly straight cut. I'm not sure exactly why it's binding. I'm pretty sure the reason that I was binding is I wasn't supporting the back end of this. But it got through it pretty much just fine. That's actually the first time I've had it bind in any medium other than 3/4 inch plywood. Now, the real challenge here, I've got some 3/4 inch plywood and I'm going to try 2 sheets. I've already cut 1 sheet down the middle. And you can see my cut strayed off of straight because I'm an idiot apparently. And it did bind right here. This is the only other time I've had the saw blade bind. So I'm going to give it another try and I'm going to clamp 2 of these together. And if it can do this, I'm actually really going to be really impressed. I'm already impressed with the saw. So this is max cut capacity. I cut it from this side so I don't run into the clamp. Alright, here we go. There you have it. 2 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood. I don't think you're ever going to find, well not maybe ever, but right now I'm pretty sure this is the only 12-volt saw that can accomplish that. Thanks to the brushless fuel motor and Milwaukee's battery technology. So I'm very impressed with this saw. It's got a lot of great uses, especially for cutting dimensional lumber out on the job site, or one of the big advantages I can see of this is fencing as well, because I don't know how many times I've been out making putting fence pickets up, and I end up with one that's not quite, it's too small of a gap for the 5.5 inch picket, and it would be really nice to have this out there to rip it down the center, so I don't have to lug out an extension cord for a corded saw, or bring it out, bring the picket back in and rip it on the table saw. So this would be great for fence work. It's got all the capacity that a full-size saw is going to cut, essentially, if you're looking at dimensional lumber, because full-size saw still needs, 7.25 inch saw still needs 2 passes through a 4x4 post, and this one can do 2 passes through a 4x4 post. So unless you're doing things like bevel cuts in dimensional lumber, if you're doing a 45-degree bevel, that's the only thing this can't do that a 6.5 inch saw can do. Or occasionally I'll use a straight line cutting template that I set on top of the workpiece, and in that case I wouldn't be able to do that because if I'm cutting a 1.5 inch workpiece, because that's the max depth of this cut. So other than that, I mean, it's not a corded replacement by no means, but it's a great little saw.